Hi, my name is Treff LaPlante, and I am the CEO and a founder at CitizenDeveloper. And in this short video, I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the CitizenDeveloper tools. You'll find that they're very easy to understand, but don't be fooled. You absolutely can make very sophisticated enterprise custom applications that function at scale using these very simple tools. Let's dive in. So these tools basically are comprised of a dashboard, editable components, and then some supporting interfaces. And I'm going to walk you through each of those. So the dashboard, you can see there's a data layer dashboard, presentation layer dashboard, and a logic layer dashboard. And these dashboards are comprised of the editable components in that layer. Let's go through them very quickly. In the data dashboard, there is tables, fields, and relationships. In the presentation layer dashboard, there's pages, the theme, and coming soon fields. In the logic dashboard, there's functions, scheduled logic, APIs for integrations, webhooks, any page logic, and any field logic. And then there's also a project management dashboard, which has discussions. But collectively, that is all of your editable components. Now, the dashboard has a couple other features. For example, there's a user switcher down here at the bottom, so that if you want to set up different users with different security permissions and you want to kind of quickly see in a given page what each user sees, you can simply switch between users by clicking the switch button. There's also a form factor switcher. So if you want to develop for desktop, you can develop in the desktop mode, but you can also develop for a mobile form factor as well. You just switch between them here. So that's the dashboard. Dashboard is comprised, each dashboard, data layer, presentation layer, and logic layer are comprised of editable components, and they each have supporting interfaces, just a few. So let's take a look at some of those supporting interfaces. So for example, in the presentation layer, I'll just pick any field really. Excuse me, in the data layer, I'll pick any field. And let's pick first name. So the first supporting interface is the settings pane. And the settings pane is really just a ribbon of settings for that particular component across each of the layers. So you can come in here, you can find a setting that you want to operate on, click on it, and then you can make your changes. Very simple. So this is the settings pane. It is the primary supporting interface. Now, there's another very common supporting interface as well, which is found heavily in the logic layer, and this is the logic palette. So for example, if I were to pick an API, an integration, these integrations center around logging in, so it's making sure to authenticate properly. And if I were to click the button, I will get the settings pane, but the settings pane is actually going to lead me to a logic palette. And this is a simple logic palette. This says that you need to open a page, and that page is called the login page. But logic palettes can do much more interesting and complex things. Let's go take a look at the other API, login get, or excuse me, reset password. Let's take a look at the reset password API. And we have a much more involved and interesting piece of logic here. A big part of the art of building complex enterprise-grade applications is simply learning how to piece this logic together. And I'll show you some more in a second. But we've seen the settings pane and we've seen the logic palette. Those are two of your primary supporting interfaces. The other two common interfaces, supporting interfaces, are the expression builder and the query builder. Let's take a quick look. If I go into fields and take a look at any link field, so here's a forgot password link. In the appearance overlay, there is a place to configure the link text, and you see that that's actually an expression. So what that means is that we can use essentially our palette again to build any sort of output to lead into to satisfy this expression. The end result of the expression is to output a value. So we can work with numbers, we can work with text, we can work with time, we can work with variables, objects, arrays, record sets, we can work with logic, we can evaluate things, we can loop over things, we can even work with location data. But ultimately our goal is to output some sort of a value which will feed this expression, which will be the link text. So that's the first of these two types of supporting interfaces, and the expression builder and the query builder are the only interfaces that will appear in a modal in the tools. So there is one other interesting supporting tool, which is the query builder. And if I were to pull up a container and go to its data settings, it's going to ask me how do I want to define the records available in that container, and I have the query button here. If I click the query button, it allows me to say what table am I trying to query. I don't have a lot to choose from here, but maybe I want to query the notifications table. It allows me to join across other tables. Maybe I want to join the notifications table to the users table. And then in the filter area, I get a query palette again. And so this is the other common supporting interface. And in the filter palette, I can add anything you can do in SQL you would do in here. So I can join across tables, I can filter any may, musts, wheres, all that sort of thing is achievable quite easily by building these filters. I can also add sorts and limits. So that is a quick overview of the dashboards with its editable components and also with their supporting interfaces. There's one other set of supporting interfaces I want to show you, and that will be the sum total of the Citizen Developer tools, and those are the contextual interfaces. What do I mean by that? Well, on any given page or any modal, I can turn on the data layer overlay, and that will give me quick access to, for any given object, the preview pane open to the data layer with whatever settings are set, or if I want to double click it, it'll give me direct access to the settings pane. And again, the settings pane is a ribbon. I can click back through other layers in the ribbon. But the data layer is one overlay. I can work in context. You can see some of these pins are solid and some of them are not. That just simply means that there's a query in there or there's not. I can turn on the record security overlay, which is for back-end record security. I can turn on the appearance overlay. I can work with visibility, which is allowing things to be viewed, edited, or added by any particular group. In the presentation layer, I also have move and resize. So I can turn that on. I can move something around on the palette here, wherever I want, and then when I'm done, I can save it. In the logic layer, I can turn on the logic overlay, and again, the logic is possible. There are triggers available on these objects, and if I click, I can see that the triggers available are after the page saves and when the page validates. This link here, View User Profile, actually has 3 triggers: on click, mouse out, and mouse over. And I'm guessing because it's a link, it probably loads a page, right? So let's take a look. And in fact, it does. It loads a page. And that page, it looks like it sets the dialog title for that. It's going to load it in a modal, I see, and it's going to set it as my name. So let's just test that. Click the link, and sure enough, it loads it exactly as it was configured to load it. Last name, comma, first. So that's the logic overlay. And then finally, in the project management area, we have a discussions overlay. So that's it. That is a walkthrough of all the tools. If you are a trained developer, you should be able to dive in right away and start building stuff. Create data layer, build tables, fields, and relationships. Build your presentation layer. Move things around on your pages and configure them. And then when you're done, fold in whatever logic that you want to fold on. Good luck, and thank you for trying out the Citizen Developer tools. We hope that you will benefit and enjoy the 20 years of research and development that we've put into these tools. Thank you very much.